Hi yogis, long time coming. This email, I said I'd send you off a little bit of, where to from now after the rest retreat. And since we last met, I have been resting a lot actually. And I was commenting to somebody the other day that it just felt so nice to be at a place within my nervous system that feels really settled like never before. For someone who teaches this sort of stuff for a living, it gets edgy when you're running a business and you're managing a team. And so to not have that at the moment in this little phase of life where I get to work on some other creative projects, but also I think the most creative and the most productive and the most fulfilling project of all in awakening. And I think that we can most do that when our nervous system is in a space of ease, because awakening for most of us doesn't happen in like a lightning bolt situation, where most of us hopefully aren't having near-death experiences and coming back awakened after seeing the light. We're not waking up being like, oh, this reality, is this actually real, and seeing things with a different lens. I think that happens for most of us gradually. And so to have a nervous system that feels regulated, I think is really, really critical for that awakening to happen. And every time that we soften, we're awakening. Every time that we don't react and instead listen, feel, and respond, we're awakening. Every time, it doesn't mean that we're not triggered and that we don't have high emotions. It's that we don't have to act out on those. We can call a friend. Hey, this is how I'm feeling. Can you give it to me straight? Before writing that angry email. Or, handing the day over, getting out of that over control seat and stepping into surrender and just asking the great mystery, how would you have the day unfold? Yes, I've got this meeting and this planned and this person I'm meeting later. And, I'm for those things. They're in the diary. I'm ready for them. But what else? What else would you like me to see? Where else would you like me to go? And that way, like every person that's put in front of us, even if we see them as, this person, I don't have time to speak to them right now. Oh gosh, this person again, really? It's like, once we've done that surrender statement in the morning, we've handed the day over, we're like, okay, I'm listening. Like, who is this person today? How can I serve them? How can I help them? Or is there some message from them to me today? And so there's an allowing in that. And it's very hard to be in that space of allowing if our nervous system is fried. So I'm grateful for these practices. I'm grateful for getting out in nature most days and the ocean, and I'm really grateful for our container and to be able to hold space for it, because I get so much out of it as well. Everything I teach is a reminder to me. Everything that comes through is for me as well. So thank you for being on this rest retreat. I hope that since we've finished, you've managed to get some more nature practices in. I will be holding another one of these containers very soon, so watch out for that, and you'll get a nice friendly price to come to that as well. I don't charge a whole lot for these containers because I think that, rest is free. This is just me sort of reminding you to come back to yourself more frequently, more often. And so that we can start to see reality, or the thing that we think is reality, in perhaps a slightly different way, to awaken, to soften, to expand. Now, with all of that said, I've got some recommendations for you. So I've got a bunch of books that I love, some that have profoundly changed the way that I see things, and then others more recent that I'm loving as well. I've taken some snaps, some photos, which I've posted below. This is of my bookshelf. And I'm also going to recommend some potties that I love listening to. And I've put some Spotify playlists down there as well, just so that you can have them for, gentle practices, stretches, nidra, in the background if whatever you're listening to doesn't have music. And anything that you want to recommend to the group, within the same kind of vein, thread, if you will, of Yoga Nidra and, modern practical spirituality or just spirituality in general, pop them down below. I don't know if you can hear that, but an alarm has gone off, so maybe that's a sign to you to pop something down below. So these are just a few of the books I'm going to highlight. As I've said, the rest of them are in the picture. Now, this is the Radiant Sutras by Lauren Roche. It's all translated by Lauren Roche and beautiful. So the Radiant Sutras, these are 112 Tantra yoga teachings for opening to the divine in everyday life. The foreword was written by one of my teachers, Shiva Ray. So let me read a little bit of her foreword so you get a bit more of an idea. She says, "This is my favorite text of all time. I came across the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra when I was 14, and it was my initiation into yoga. My first love, this teaching has given me entryway into the vast wisdom at the heart of Tantra. I feel I have a home base now." She also goes on to say this book is absolutely magical. One line or just the pairing of some of the words can change your relationships and activate an awakening. So I am just going to open to a page and read you a little bit. Just gives you an idea of like the poetry in these sutras, and you can take one little bit and kind of meditate on it. Rocking, undulating, swaying, carried by rhythm. Cherish the streaming energy flooding your body as a current of the divine. I love to let those words just kind of land and simmer. So that's a great one, really inspiring. If you just choose one every morning and let it simmer. So some other yoga-based ones. So two more. I mean, there's so many, but this is unreal. I love it for breath work and the subtle practices, the subtle energy practices. And every time I pick this up, because we can read a book over and over again and we'll get a different message every time because we never step into the same river twice. Meaning that our cells are different every time we read something. We've had a different life experience happen that's evolved us, it's expanded us, and so we receive information in different ways. So yeah, this is all about the breath and the yogi's way of breathing and why, and the chakras. There's a little information in there on the chakras, so it's all about energy, anatomy as well. So if you're interested in breath work, I can highly recommend that. And not the breath work we're accustomed to you might see breath journeys around and rebirthing breath and the very dynamic kind of breathing that you're seeing a lot today, which is awesome. I love it. I hold space for it. I love the practice myself. This is more about an energy management system, and it's science. I think of the yogis as they were scientists. They're some of the original biohackers. This one, mantra, I love this book. It was at our Flow yoga library in the yoga room, and I picked it up and read it, did a post on it, and my friend Marianne, you used to be a teacher, some of you know she used to be a teacher at Flow. She's like, that's my book, I contributed that to the library. So mantra. So all about mantra, the teachings from Swami Satyananda Saraswati. And yeah, it's all about like, what are the mantras? Who should practice them? When should we not practice them? There's a whole set of codes. So yeah, that's a great book. Now, I guess this is beautiful. So women in any phase in their life. And now, Luke, if you are listening to this, this could also be a really interesting read for you, for the women in your life as well. And going through whatever changes they might be going through. So the Ayurvedic woman, the essential guide to wellness in all phases of womanhood. And it's written beautifully. There's a chapter in here on cycles and rhythms, and I'll just read this little bit out. She drops into some really beautiful sort of poetry into hers as well. So this is on chapter 5, Cycles and Rhythms. As a woman, you share a sacred rhythm with all other women. Your cyclic nature and the rhythms that influence all aspects of your health also give you understanding of yourself and life. This chapter explores the link between nature's cycles, innate rhythms, healthy hormones, and metabolic processes as the crucial key to your vitality. And then this beautiful poetry is dripped in here. Breath flows in, breath flows out, traveling always the curving path of the goddess. Breath flows spontaneously of its own will. Thus all breathing beings continually give reverence to her. Be conscious of this unconscious prayer, for she is the most holy place of pilgrimage. She wishes for you to enter this temple, where each breath is adoration of the infinite for the incarnate form. The flowers, the incense, grains, spices, and honey offered in ritual are made out of the same divine stuff as you. Who then is worshipped? Actually, that's an insight verse from the Radiant Sutras. So she's dropped some of that in there as well. Beautiful book. Big recommendation there. Okay, so these ones are less yogic, but still same thing. Oh, this is beautiful. This is a book on poetry, Finding Love Everywhere by Robert Holden. I love his sense of humor. There's some kind of funny tongue-in-cheek poems in there about love and our ignorance to it, and where we search for it in all the wrong places. And his wife is actually a poet as well, Holly Holden. So let me see. Okay. Where is love? Where there is love, pain breathes. Tears smile. Hurt softens. Guilt loses its edges. Judgment forgets to judge. Fear is no longer afraid, and separation is over. Where there is love, you are there. Because you are love. I am love. We are love. I need that reminder. Okay, this energy medicine, love. This woman is an acupuncturist and a big deal in the acupuncture world. She's got a clinic, I think, in New York or somewhere. The science of acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, and other healing methods. Oh, Uma Thurman's given her a nice little rating there. So talks about you, the healer. Talks about the way she started to feel energy moving through her in acupuncture and how it kind of guided her to use her hands to do certain other modalities in healing, and to trust that and not to overthink that. And it's not you controlling it. When you surrender, this medicine comes through you. Yeah, and it's around the science of healing as well. If you're interested in that sort of stuff. The Untethered Soul. Anyone who's been practicing, studying with me, any courses with me over the past, 13 years, you would have heard me recommend this book. It's a game changer. The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself by Michael Singer. Deepak Chopra says, read this book carefully and you'll get more than a glimpse of eternity. Great book, amazing, just asks you to challenge the thoughts that you have about yourself, your stuckness. Remember, he talks about a thorn in the side. We all have a thorn, we all have a wound or a thorn stuck in our side. So it might be, that I am unlovable, that I am unworthy. We've all got something. And then we keep this thorn, we don't want to pull it out. And then we'll create like this covering to protect it. And anyone who goes anywhere near it, back off. We get triggered, in other words. And he talks about pulling the thorn out. That's just one part of it. Experiencing energy, freeing yourself. If you truly want to grow spiritually, you realize that keeping your stuff is keeping you trapped. Eventually, you'll want out at any cost. You'll then realize that life is actually trying to help you. Life is surrounding you with people and situations that stimulate growth. That person, this is me talking now, that person in front of you that's triggering you, remember, they're there for your growth. You don't have to decide who's right or wrong. You don't have to worry about other people's issues. This is all law of least effort. You only have to be willing to open your heart in the face of anything and everything and permit the purification process to take place. Let yourself be healed. When you do this, the first thing you see is that situations will unfold that hit your stuff. In other words, when you start to surrender and awaken, things sometimes get worse before they get better. But in truth, that's exactly what's been happening your entire life. The only difference is that now you see it as a good thing because it's an opportunity to let it go. In other words, bring it on. Bring it on. All the triggers, all the stuff, bring it on. Now, this final one that I'm talking about is actually a random one. So our trip to the UK, family trip to the UK last year, my husband's not a great traveler. He gets anxious and very controlling when we're in transit. He worries that things will go wrong, that trains will be late, the planes will be late. Like, he's not worried about flying. He's not scared of that. It's the not being in control. And he got a little controlling and sort of angry. And it wasn't a great experience for Alice and I at certain points. We can laugh about it now, which is why I'm telling you. And he realized he was being a head case, as we're all head cases sometimes. And he went out and bought this book. It was also his way of being like, sorry, I know I was being a head case. It's don't believe everything you think. Why you're thinking is the beginning and end of suffering. So he didn't read it all. He started reading it, bless him, and then put it down, okay, when I became, very forgiving. And then I picked it up because I was like, oh, yeah, I'm a head case too sometimes. We all are as humans. So my husband and I call each other head cases in jest. It's funny to take it. We're not taking ourselves too seriously. And I really love it. And I pick it up every once in a while, and there'll be just something that jumps out at me. So, for example, chapter 2, the root cause of suffering. One who looks around him is intelligent. One who looks within him is wise. That's a quote by Matshono Dilwayo. So, yeah, it talks a lot about thoughts. Thoughts are just thoughts. Thinking is where we get in trouble. Thinking is where we start to create more meaning, where our body starts to go into dysregulation. I've just realized, if you can see out the back on the projector, one of Alice's dollies is hanging from the projector. Had a bit of a party last night, obviously. So yeah, love all these books. What do you love? Now, I'm going to recommend or share with you some podcasts that I love at the moment. One is this Ram Dass Here and Now podcast. And, Ram Dass died a couple of years ago, but his legacy lives on. And so they still share, his lectures, any of his talks, his wisdom, his teachings. And I get a lot out of this. He was really big on the psychedelic. He was a very big part of the psychedelic movement and using psychedelics for therapy and for awakening. And yeah, I find him really, really interesting. And he's a yogi. I also love every once in a while this Vital Veda podcast. It's an Ayurvedic podcast by Dylan. He did live here in Bronte at one stage, but he's up in the Northern Rivers now. And he's a brilliant Ayurvedic practitioner. If you ever want to do a consult, we've got lots of brilliant practitioners around us, but yeah, you can do them online with him. I've never actually had a session with him, but he's renowned. His Vital Veda podcast. He's very traditional. So, know thyself. This is definitely on play for me at least once a week. He interviews some awesome people. The one I most recommend most recently, he interviewed in episode 185, Henry Shukman, a Zen master with 40 years of practice on who you really are. I listened to that actually not long after we finished our container, and I was like, gosh, I've got to share this with Rest Retreat peeps. So there we go. A bit of optimism. This is by Simon Sinek. Brilliant. I've got such a mind crush on this man. I love the way he thinks. I don't think he'd call himself particularly spiritual or a yogi, but he's definitely a yogi in my, from what I see. And just in that he's present. He talks a lot about connection and friendship and community. And, where there's a lot of people talking about relationships, love relationships and self-love relationships, he's talking about what it is to be a good friend. And he wrote a book called Start With Why and many other books. And his TED Talk on Start With Why went pretty viral. I think it's probably still one of the most widely or watched TED Talks. Every once in a while, like the Rich Roll podcast. OmSom. So this is an Australian guy, Aaron Petty from Melbourne. He's got a studio in Melbourne, yoga studio. Very traditional. He talks a lot about, or they talk a lot about in the podcasts, yogic philosophy. So again, very traditional. I love more and more the older I get, just returning to the roots of yoga. On that note, one book I haven't showed you, but The Ocean of Yoga. That is a book by Amy Landry. Amy Landry came and taught on some of my yoga teacher trainings that I hosted when I was still hosting them, Inspired Leaders. And she's written a book. I actually interviewed her on my podcast, which is Where We Suffered. So go check that out, that most recent potty with Amy Landry. And we talk about this vast sea of reductionist yoga, in the West where there's so much yoga and like we talk about returning to the roots of yoga. And you don't have to study yoga to do that, but it's to like keep it real. It's keeping it real in the world of yoga. There's some insights into that you might want to check out. I found that conversation really inspiring. And yeah, Where We Soften, Kate Kendall's podcast. Look, there's a whole heap, but they're probably my top ones. And yeah, anything that you want to share? Oh, and then there are a few of these. Okay, so I've got a few apps that I use. One is the A Course in Miracles app. So A Course in Miracles is this incredible body of work. It's a huge book, kind of looks like the Bible. And there's daily lessons and daily sort of contemplations and meditations. I use the app most mornings. So I'll open it up and I will listen to the lesson of the day.
And the alternative you think you chose seems fearful and too dangerous.
And so it kind of gives you a little bit of, after I hand the day over, I'll usually listen to this when I'm in the car after I've dropped Alice or I'm on my way somewhere. And it because I've handed the day over, I just trust that this message is what I'm meant to be hearing on that day. And it helps to flavor the day. And it always resonates for some reason. And, mystery of life. I love this app. Any other apps that I'd like to share with you? Insight Timer is also lovely. I really enjoy Insight Timer because it gives me plenty of practices to do, meditations, breath works. It's got a timer on it, so if you're meditating, you can have the sound of singing bowl when you're coming out of meditation. It's got challenges on there if you're a member. And then, of course, grab Substack. Last recommendation there, the Substack app, so that you can have any of my rantings and musings at your fingertips and plenty of other writers out there. Oh, and of course, my book, Life in Flow, which I'll just grab it. Should have had some nice hold music for you there. Life in Flow. So I wrote this the 9 months that I was pregnant with Alice, and I would sit in the Double Bay Library every Sunday. And there's a lot of pictures of me in here, but I didn't realize that until after it was published. There are 4 chapters, and each chapter has a theme, and each theme has a moving meditation that goes with it. So, and practical, I take yoga and I apply it to our everyday living. So, how it is to be a modern yogi whilst maintaining the tradition of it. So, if you would like a copy of this book, let me know. Send me a message, email me, however you want to get in contact with me, and I'll do you a deal. I got some books that in my garage that I'd like to move, so I'm going to do a good deal and give some of those at a really good price. So yeah, let me know, and I would love to hear any of your recommendations. Share it with the group down below in the comments. Books, podcasts, music, whatever you want to share. Stay tuned. Stay around. I hope to see you in a class soon, or in Substack soon, in an event soon, and maybe the next Yoga Nidra course. Lots of love.